Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I know, I'm very slow. Everyone's already showcased Feraligatr, but I finally got around to using it and it is really good in Great League. So today I'm just going to share with you guys some of the battles that I played with Feraligatr. I have two different teams here. The first team is extremely weak to poison grass types like Venusaur and Victory Bell. So in the second team, I end up changing my lead. Instead of Clodsire, I do end up running Shadow Alolan Sandslash, and that works so much better for the grass types. It also helped quite a bit against the dragon types. However, that team was also a little bit weak to fighters. It struggled a little bit against Poliwrath, but I still managed to go positive with both of the teams. I think they're both very solid. The second one I would recommend a lot more than this first one with Clodsire, so I would recommend the one with Alolan Sandslash lead and then double water backline. In the back, we are going to have Whiscash and Shadow Feraligatr. I recommend Shadow Feraligatr over normal Feraligatr. It's so much better. It hits for a lot more damage, and it has a chance versus a lot more Pokemon, especially against Gallade. It can Shadow Claw Gallade down, so that's pretty good. And the team doesn't really have a solid safe swap. It is an ABB line, so you do definitely have to draw out whatever the backline is going to be weak to with one of your back Pokemon. So you kind of have to switch in this ABB format. Now, a lot of times what I was doing is, because Whiscash is the bulkier Pokemon, I would actually swap and catch a move on my Whiscash. And sometimes if I felt like I needed to swap out of my lead, I would use Feraligatr as a safe swap. Feraligatr, because it hits so hard and it has such a versatile moveset. It has Shadow Claw, which they just gave it this season, and it has access to Hydro Cannon, Ice Beam, which is going to be hitting for super effective against the dragon types and against the grass types, and it also has access to Crunch if you need it for the ghost types. Now in this first team, I was running Clodsire with Poison Sting as the fast move and Stone Edge and Sludge Bomb as the charged moves. I didn't really need Earthquake on it because I have two things in the back that are going to be decent versus steel types. And I found that Stone Edge was doing really well against some of the flyers. Like you can see there, I one-shot a Talonflame. That was nice. And of course, I need that Sludge Bomb for the grass types because this is my grass counter on this team. Like I said at the beginning, if you run into a Venusaur or a Victory Bell, it is going to be a little bit tricky with this team in particular because of Clodsire's ground typing. It is going to be taking neutral from the grass types. But anyways, that's enough rambling from me. Let's get into these battles. Up first, we are going to be faced with a Dugong, which is not going to be great for my Clodsire. Clodsire is going to be taking super effective from Dugong. Now, I go for a Stone Edge and they shield, and then I switch into my Feraligatr, and my opponent brings in a Gallade. I am actually able to land a Hydro Cannon on it and then Shadow Claw it down. Of course, I had to shield once for the Leaf Blade, and then my opponent brings their Dugong back in, and I'm just going to go for these Hydro Cannons against this Dugong and get it really weak. We get it into the red, and my opponent is forced to throw because they're not going to be able to live another Hydro Cannon. And then they bring in an Annihilate. I am going to bring my Whiscash in against this and go for a Scald. Unfortunately, we don't get the attack drop, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and shield the Shadow Ball here. Good shield on my part. If this was the Night Slash, then they would be able to land the Shadow Ball on the next move. Now, I think I attempted to catch a Shadow Ball there, but then I have energy on Clodsire, so I just go for the Sludge Bomb because my opponent did not throw. Anyways, they bring in their Dugong and they just gave up at this point because they know they can't win that, so GG's to my opponent. Now moving on to the next match, we are going to see a lead that is going to be actually very good against my entire team. Swampert is going to be good versus my team because it is good versus the Clodsire, and it is going to be really good against Whiscash. So the only answer I have for it is Feraligatr, but Feraligatr is my safe swap, so I bring it in anyway. I didn't want to bring Whiscash into it. They did stay in a little bit and get quite a bit of energy on their Swampert. However, they do let their Mandibuzz go. I don't give up any shields because I need to be able to shield the Hydro Cannons from the Swampert, which is absolutely going to destroy the two Pokemon I have left. All I can do here is hope that my opponent is not going to shield this Mud Bomb. If they don't, I have a chance. They don't. They let it go, and we're able to take their Swampert out, and they have a Talonflame in the back. They go ahead and they shield the Scald, and you guys know what this means. We have Stone Edge on our Clodsire, we are going to be able to one-shot this Talonflame. I'm going to go ahead and shield this because I know that I can outpace to the Stone Edge before my opponent can get to another move. I'm going to go for a Stone Edge, and this is going to one-shot the Talonflame. GG's to our opponent. Moving on to the next match, we are going to be met with a Wigglytuff. This is exactly where we want to see it. We definitely don't want the Wigglytuff to line up with the Feraligatr because Feraligatr is using Shadow Claw, and that is going to be resisted. Now my opponent goes ahead and swaps into a Whiscash. I'm going to bring in Feraligatr because it is going to be hitting for neutral with a Hydro Cannon. And I take the first Mud Bomb, but I do have to shield up the second one because it is going to take my Feraligatr out. I go for another Hydro Cannon, but my opponent decides to invest both shields. I know that I can reach one more Hydro, so I go ahead and I invest my second shield into Feraligatr. I really want to maintain alignment. I really want the Wigglytuff aligned to the Clodsire. But my opponent goes ahead and they swap into Wigglytuff instead of staying in with the Whiscash against the Feraligatr. So I bring in Clodsire immediately. Unfortunately, now we are switch locked into this Whiscash here, but we are able at least to take the Wigglytuff out. So I'm just going to go for Sludge Bomb. I don't have Earthquake. This is where Earthquake would have been useful, but I go ahead and I save the Clodsire just in case I need it. Because of the way my opponent was playing, it made me feel like I might need that for later. And I go ahead and I catch the Mud Bomb on my Whiscash, but my opponent has a Charge Bug in the back, so I definitely did not need to do that. But my opponent goes ahead and top lefts because I had a Hydro Cannon stored on my Feraligatr. I was able to land a Scald on the Charge Bug, so they were in Hydro Cannon range, and I was going to be able to win that, so GG's to our opponent. Up next, we are going to be faced with a Medicham. Now, Medicham is not as threatening as it once was to Clodsire because they nerfed Psychic. And the fast move, of course, is going to be resisted. Now, I go for a Sludge Bomb, and then for some reason I swap into my Whiscash. I definitely could have stayed in with Clodsire against this. Now, my opponent is just going for power-up punches against my Whiscash. I'm going to go for a Scald, and then they invest a shield. I'm going to go ahead and no shield here and call another power-up punch. Yes, they're going straight power punch. At least I'm able to reach another Scald, but my opponent decides to invest their second shield into Medicham. Now here I thought I might be clever and call another power-up punch because I have 2 shields left, but my opponent goes for Psychic. It hurts my Clodsire, and my opponent has an Azu in the back. At least I'm going to be able to land a Sludge Bomb here, and I still have 2 shields left, so I just have to hope that Feraligatr can win this for me. I'm going to go ahead and shield the Play Rough here. Assuming my opponent goes Play Rough, they go for an Ice Beam, however. Makes sense because I still have 2 shields. But my opponent is going to have a Bastiodon in the back, and I have so much energy on this Feraligatr. Gonna go for 2 Hydro Cannons to take the Basti out, and then all I have to do is land. I think I need 2 Hydro Cannons to take this Azu out, or I think I'll be able to Shadow Claw it down, but it doesn't matter because my opponent is going to top left, so we were able to win that even after I played it really stupidly and I let Medicham basically take out half my team. Really interesting. Very strong Pokemon Feraligatr is. Now in the next match, we're faced with a Rapidash lead. I am able to take a shield from them by baiting with a Sludge Bomb. I build up to the Stone Edge and then I throw a Sludge Bomb. And then I bring in Feraligatr on the Drill Run, but then I realize that Feraligatr is squishy and I kind of don't want to take the Drill Run anyways. So I shield. There was no point making that like catch play. And then my opponent brings in a Victory Bell, but they don't shield the Ice Beam and I'm able to take them out. And my opponent is going to have a Whiscash in the back. They go ahead and they use their final shield on the Mud Bomb. So now they have no shields to protect their Rapidash. I am going to go ahead and take their Whiscash out. They weren't going to be able to take ours out because we were full health. And here I can easily shield whatever the Rapidash is going to throw at my Clodsire. And then I can go for a Stone Edge and take that Rapidash out. GG's to our opponent. Actually, I must say mad respect to my opponent for using Rapidash in such a water-heavy meta, so good luck to you. Anyways, on to the next match. We are going to be met with a Poliwrath, and Poliwrath is very tricky for this team. If I can't land the Sludge Bomb, then it is going to give me such a hard time. Unfortunately, they go ahead and they shield. They go for an Icy Wind here and drop our attack, and then they catch the next Sludge Bomb on a Whiscash. I definitely was not expecting Whiscash in the back. What do? against grass types. This is very weak to grass. But anyways, I mean, my team is weak to grass too. But they managed to catch the Sludge Bomb on their Whiscash, unfortunately. I do bring Feraligatr in against this, and then I have to invest a shield because the next Mud Bomb was going to take my Feraligatr out. I go for a Hydro Cannon against the Poliwrath, and for some reason they shield. They really want to save this Poliwrath at all costs. Now, I do have to bring my Whiscash in against Poliwrath. It looks like we are going to get destroyed, actually, by this Poliwrath in this game. I go for a Sludge Bomb here, and my opponent catches it on a Skarmory. I just got outplayed, and the Poliwrath just absolutely wrecked my entire team. So, GG's to my opponent. I hated that match. Now moving on, we are going to be faced with a Vigoroth on the lead. I'm going to go for the Sludge Bombs against this Vigoroth. It can only hit us with Body Slam. The counters are going to be resisted, and the Rock Slide is going to be resisted. Going for a Sludge Bomb here, and I'm keeping in mind that I do have to draw out the Grass type with one of my back Pokemon, so I go for a Sludge Bomb here, and then I catch on my Whiscash. Now, the Feraligatr is a lot better of a safe swap, and Feraligatr here would have been better up against this Gallade because the Shadow Claws would be doing super effective to it. However, I do catch on my Whiscash because I wanted to catch the Body Slam. Whiscash, like I said, is a lot bulkier. I decide to shield the first Leaf Blade just so that I could get the Scald off, and then I go for a Mud Bomb instead of going for another Scald because at least I'm able to get that damage off on the Gallade. And then it has a lot of energy built up, so I bring Clodsire in. Unfortunately, I am going to have to take 2 Leaf Blades, but I'm assuming that I got the Water type counter out of the way, so I let my Clodsire go, and then I bring Feraligatr in. I'm not going to shield the Body Slam because I still have no idea what my opponent can have in the back. At least I am able to farm the Vigoroth down. Unfortunately, we are in the red. It looks like my opponent is going to have a Slurpuff in the back. We're able to land the first Hydro Cannon. The second one is going to get a shield from them. And then we are going to be able to reach a third Hydro Cannon on the Slurpuff, surviving with 1 HP and taking that win. Again, Feraligatr is so strong and so spammy. But moving on to the next match, we are going to see a Frenzy Plant user on the lead. It is going to be Serperior. At least Serperior is a pure grass type, so it is going to be taking super effective from the fast move that Clodsire has and from the Sludge Bombs. We're able to land the first one. It gets them really low, and I know I should be able to survive this next Frenzy Plant, so I let it go. I have a Sludge Bomb. We actually CMP tied there, so I'm going to go ahead and throw it, and my opponent goes ahead and shields. Now at this point, I don't want them to farm my Clodsire down, so I immediately bring in my Feraligatr and I start farming this thing so that I could have energy for whatever my opponent is going to have in the back. And look at that, we almost had 2 Hydro Cannons stored up and ready for this Cresselia. Unfortunately, my opponent is going to have another Grass move user in the back. But because of the energy lead that we had, we are going to be able to take this match against Cresselia and have energy for my opponent's final Pokemon, which is going to be Skeledirge. And we are going to be able to land a Hydro Cannon on Skeledirge and take that win, so GG's to our opponent. And with that win, we are going to get another 4-1 with this team. I am really enjoying Feraligatr in the back. It is so good. And I really like ABB lines, so I run Double Water a lot. Of course, now we are going to move on to a different lead. We're going to run Alolan Sandslash on the lead. And up first, we are going to be faced with an opposing Alolan Sandslash, which is actually really good for me that I changed the Clodsire off the lead, because the opposing Alolan Sandslash would have absolutely destroyed my Clodsire. Now we are able to take a shield from them and bait with the Ice Punch. They do manage, however, to catch a Drill Run on their Azu. I'm going to go ahead and stay in a little bit because my backline doesn't have a really solid answer to Azu anyways. And if it's running Ice Beam and Play Rough, then Alolan Sandslash resists those, so it's good for me to soak up that energy before swapping out into one of my back Pokemon. I decide to swap into Feraligatr and start building up energy. However, my opponent was going to reach a move, so I had to throw the Hydro Cannon. They bring a Giratina in, and then they bring in their Alolan Sandslash and go for that Drill Run. I go ahead and I shield because I want to land a Hydro Cannon on that Alolan Sandslash. They let it go. The Alolan Sandslash is now out of the way. They bring Giratina back in, invest their final shield, And then I let Feraligatr go. However, they don't quite take us out with the Ominous Wind. I immediately bring in Sandslash, and I make it to an Ice Punch, and I'm able to take the Giratina out. They don't even see our final Pokemon. GG's to our opponent. Now the next lead I'm going to face is going to be a Guzzlord, and this is where we want to see it. Unfortunately, the Shadow Claws are going to be resisted, but I just have to hope that I can land an Ice Punch, which is going to be super effective. Now I shield here expecting a crunch, but my opponent goes for a Dragon Claw. I am able to reach a second Ice Punch here, and they don't want to invest their second shield, so they let it go. At least I'm able to get the Guzzlord low. And then they go for another Dragon Claw. For some reason, they're just going straight Dragon Claw. At least I'm going to be able to reach another Ice Punch, and it looks like they really want to take lead. So they go ahead and they invest their second shield as well. I bring Feraligatr in again because we saw how strong Feraligatr is with energy, so I start farming up energy on it, but unfortunately my opponent is going to have a Lantern in the back, and I have nothing on Feraligatr that is going to hit for neutral against Lantern like Crunch. So I bring in Whiscash and I just hope for the best. My opponent has a Gligar in the back. They're going to bring the Gligar in. I am going to be able to land 2 Scalds on the Gligar and then go for a Mud Bomb on the Whiscash. Of course, my opponent is not going to let me reach a second Mud Bomb, so they're going to go ahead and surf us here. Unfortunately, they are able to take our Whiscash out, and I just have to hope that this Hydro Cannon is going to get my opponent low enough. But I think that this is only enough for a Surf. They're not able to take us out, and we're able to Shadow Claw the Lantern down with our Feraligatr. GG's to our opponent. That got very close. On to the next match, we're going to see a terrible lead of Talonflame. I'm going to do 1 Shadow Claw and then swap into my safe swap of Feraligatr before the Incinerate can register on my Alolan Sandslash. Now we managed to draw out a Gallade. This is actually where we want to see it. I'm going to attempt to completely Shadow Claw the Gallade down, invest both of my shields into my Feraligatr. We are able to do that. We're also able to take a shield from them, and my opponent is of course not going to be able to bring the Talonflame into this fully loaded Feraligatr, so they bring in their own Feraligatr. We are able to land a Hydro Cannon on it and get it into the yellow. I'm going to bring Sandslash in, saving my Whiscash for the Talonflame, and then my opponent swaps into Talonflame. I am of course going to be able to live whatever they are going to throw at me and then land a Scald. I think this should be enough to take it out. It is. We're able to take the Talonflame out, and we're also able to leave that matchup with enough energy to reach a Mud Bomb on the Feraligatr before it can throw a move on our Whiscash. GG's to our opponent. On to the next match. The lead we're going to see is going to be a Lantern. Now this is not great for either of us. The Surfs and the Thunderbolts are going to be hurting my Alolan Sandslash. At least we're going to be able to hit it for super effective with the drill runs. We were able to land that first drill run, and then I just needed to go for an Ice Punch on the second move because they were in Ice Punch range. Now here's the thing, I should not have invested a shield into my Alolan Sandslash because I am going to need it later. And unfortunately for me, my opponent also is going to have that Superior in the back, and they're going to go for a really nice farm on our Whiscash, but then they go for a Frenzy Plant to take us out because they didn't want me to throw another Scald. We were able to get it quite low with just the Scalds. I'm going to be able to throw an Ice Punch here, take the Superior out, and then here is where I needed a second shield because I thought this might be Fly. And my opponent still has 2 shields left, so I went ahead and I no-shielded. If it was Fly, my opponent was going to be able to outpace me. Unfortunately, it was a Brave Bird, and I wasn't going to be able to take that win, so GG's to our opponent. But in the next match, we are going to get a really nice lead of Whimsicott, and my opponent safe swaps into an Empoleon. I have Whiscash, and I'm going to go ahead and bring it in and go for these Mud Bombs against this Empoleon. We are going to be resisting their fast move, which is going to be Steel Wing. Now, I do have to go for that second Mud Bomb in order to take this Empoleon out without having to invest a shield in that matchup. They bring Whimsicott back in. I am going to be able to throw a Scald on them and drop their attack. They are going to have to throw the Grass Knot before I can throw another Scald. They take us out, and then I can bring my Alolan Sandslash back in, and I let whatever this is go. It is going to be resisted, and their attack has been debuffed, so that's perfectly fine. It still hurts, though. And then my opponent brings in a Feraligatr. At least I'm going to be able to take a shield with the Drill Run on the Feraligatr. and then I bring in my own. Because I was able to take a shield from them, I should be in a good spot to take this with my own Feraligatr. I do let the first Hydro Cannon go, and then I start shielding up the next ones. This next Hydro Cannon should be enough to almost take their Feraligatr out. I still have a shield left also, so I'm going to go ahead and save that shield for Alolan Sandslash, and my opponent recognizes that they cannot win that match, so they back out. GG's to our opponent. And that is going to be another 4-1 with this double water backline, and that is going to bring us to the end of our video. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys like my content, please consider subscribing, maybe leave a like, it helps me out so much. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!